You know, last week was great, guys. It was beautiful. It was a nice week of just 60 and 70 degree temperatures and a random November tornado. Those don't seem to happen too often, but now we're a week away from that. It's a week forward. And we have snow on the ground. That's crazy. Mother Nature left her freezer open last night, and this is what happened. I'm not used to all this. And trust me, I would rather be hunting right now. This is like beautiful hunting weather, stuff like that. You know, everybody wants to go hunting this time of year. But my mind's on fishing. I've been thinking about fishing a lot, thinking about bringing you guys some sort of content with it. And that's hard to do in the wintertime because fishing it's tough in the winter. It's hard to find fish and it's hard to get them to eat. But today's video, I think we're going to talk about my favorite winter baits, and that's pretty much all there is to it. I've got a few that you probably know really well, and one that's just out of the box, like random, not a lot of people think about it. So let's dive into that. So I guess starting off, most of you guys probably already know what I'm going to say, but the good old Jigging Pig. This is my football head / regular jig box, and I play with this thing more during the winter time than I do any other time of the year. The only thing that comes close is the summertime. That's because fish are pretty much doing the same similar kind of thing. They're hanging out deep and they're hanging on the bottom trying to get an easy meal. A football jig, 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce, ½ ounce. That's really a good way to catch fish during the winter time. Something natural, looks like a crawfish, could look like a dying bluegill. You can make it look like whatever you want, visualize what you think it is. I have a great video on jigs, football jigs specifically. So that's the #1 thing that I'm throwing during the winter time. #2 is kind of an extension of #1, and that would be a really big worm, a long plastic worm like a 12-inch or even bigger. That's really awesome for wintertime fishing. It's kind of the same thing. It's on the bottom just chilling out there, but it's a different presentation. It's a little more finessey, sort of. It doesn't look as intimidating. Looks like something that fish can come and eat. Just simply come and eat it. There's nothing to it. It's less intimidating, and it's a good meal. It'll hold the fish over for quite a while. My third favorite bait for wintertime is the good tried and true Ned rig. A few years ago, that was a big thing. It really blew up. Everybody started fishing it, and it's a good numbers bait. It catches a lot of fish, but in the wintertime, it can really help you catch those bigger fish, the ones that don't want to do much. They just want a little meal, and just kind of let it sit there and creep along. Looks like a bait fish just sitting there on the bottom, something like that. It's subtle. It's something that a lot of people use now, and for good reason. It catches quite a bit of fish. Now, the cool thing about wintertime fishing is the fish still react. Reaction bite is a huge part of catching a fish. Anytime they see something, they react to it. They don't have hands, so they can't just reach out and feel it. They stick it in their mouths and they see what it is. And that's generally how we catch fish. So after I go through the whole jig, Ned rig, big worm thing, I'll go ahead and go into my reaction style lures. Generally, that's going to be a crankbait or some type of jerkbait. And the cool thing about the crankbaits is you can fish them shallow or you can fish them deep. There's always going to be fish up shallow, especially if you can find rocks, some riprap. That's where there's warmer water at. It's a warmer area. Whenever that sun comes out, those fish are going to be there trying to find crawfish, trying to find whatever they can to eat. So you can't rule out a square bill in the wintertime. I know it sounds weird throwing shallow, trying to catch fish shallow. It works, trust me, especially later in the year. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Randy Howe whenever he won the Bassmaster Classic. He was fishing a bridge near some riprap, and it was cold. It was very cold in the morning, and that was still early in the year, and he managed to sack them up pretty good. There was quite a bit of fish there. The other thing is going offshore and finding those deep fish with something like a crankbait like this. You can also fish a Carolina rig. I forgot to mention that. That's not my favorite, but you can take that big worm or even a Ned rig style bait and throw it on a Carolina rig during the wintertime out deep and catch fish. But one of my favorites is a deep diving crankbait like this. Match the hatch, you know. Simple stuff. You don't have to overthink it. For my last two, I'm going to stick them kind of in the same category, that being a jerkbait and a spy bait. Now, those two things are very much different. They're not the same thing. They look very similar, but one of them sinks and if you're doing it right, you'll get a suspending jerkbait. Suspending jerkbaits are better than those ones that just float up fast. You want one that just kind of sits there. The Shadow Rap, the Rapala Shadow Rap is awesome for that. That is my #1 favorite jerkbait during the winter time. And then just the Duo, I believe it's Duo Realis that makes the spy bait, the spin bait or something like that. I forgot what they called it. But those spin baits are really awesome. They look like a crankbait slash jerkbait slash topwater prop bait, but you can fish them super slow and entice some fish, especially if you have, you know, suspended fish. A lot of fish do suspend in the winter time, and that's a great way to catch them. I love fishing a spin bait, and I love fishing a jerkbait and a crankbait. Those are my favorite 3, but I'm always going to start out fishing something on the bottom: a jig, a big worm, a Ned rig. Those are my first 3 every single time. If I can't get them to eat it out of hunger, I'm going to make them react to it. That's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you kind of learned, you know, what I like to fish during the winter time. I'm not really good at fishing during the winter time, but whenever I get on them, I'm usually on them with some of those lures. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you right here next time.